This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it, cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement.
What's going on, Blueprint Nation? How are you doing today? I hope you guys are super excited, especially in this long holiday weekend. I hope you guys are out there enjoying your barbecue and enjoying some fun. As you know, this is the platform, the blueprint on how to do shit. All right. And today, guys, I have a special guest today that is going to help out a lot of my real estate gang out there. Okay. You guys, I have a special guest that's going to go ahead and share with you on how to be able to go ahead and learn the secrets to being a successful real estate agent. Now, my guest, he's a growth coach, speaker, real estate expert, and mentor. And you guys know how I feel about real estate. So I'm super excited about today's show. And he's a no fluff coach who is purely delivers results. He has mentored plenty of mentees and individuals and real estate agents on the world of real estate. And he is the man in believing that building your life brick by brick is the way that you should, obviously, in the real estate game, right? So whether it's mindset, money, or marriage, you know, he's going to go ahead and call you out and coach you up on these particular topics. So let's welcome the man who teaches progress over perfection, though none other, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Bob Thompson. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome, brother. You're welcome. I'm glad to have you here. You know, super excited because a large portion of our audience here are into real estate or interested in getting to real estate. So I know we're going to talk a lot of great value in the real estate game. But before we go ahead and start on that and we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, hopefully I try my best to introduce yourself, right? But from your words and your point of view, if you could go ahead and share with the audience, who is Bob, and also a little bit about your background and expertise.
Okay, so let me see. I transitioned from chemist to real estate agent full-time in 2007. And I was the number one listing and sales agent on a power team for 2 of the next 3 years. Then I went solo in 2011. I also specialized in bank-owned properties and short sales. And then in 2017, I had my best year. I did 70 deals as a solo agent. So rolled into 2018, you know, new car, new RV, the whole 9 yards. And this is where, let's just say sometimes you get a little cocky and you have to be smited down a little bit. In 2018, I had 2 heart attacks and a quadruple bypass. So by the end of 2018, I was completely flat broke. I went through everything I had. In the span of a week and a half, Wells Fargo canceled my credit card, my bank account, and repoed my vehicle, which I was able to get back. That being said, I was able to recover and through it using the same tools that I went full-time real estate in the first place, and was able to rebuild my business. And that's ultimately what got me into coaching, which started as real estate coaching, has become or moved into a combination of both real estate growth coaching and then, quite honestly, just regular personal growth coaching along the way. So it's where my passions are, and I enjoy it, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to be alive also.
Man, super. Wow. Hold up, bro. Bob, you've been through it, bro. Like you have been, you know, so you do not fall short in the realm of trials and tribulations, which is good. That's good because, you know, aside from whatever prestigious school that's out there or degree that you may have, there's no better teacher than the School of Hard Knocks. I always have been a bit advocate of that, right? So
yeah, and I think we learn more from people's mistakes and screw ups than we do. I mean, it would be one thing for me to sit here and go, well, I did this and I did this and blah, 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 blah. I just assume you learn from the things I did wrong. So hopefully you'll actually be smarter than me and pay attention and not make the same mistakes.
Exactly. Right. You know, I mean, which we're going to hopefully talk on with throughout today's episode is the power of, you know, getting a mentor and having somebody that could guide you and walk you through the steps to avoid the pitfalls that obviously you're going to inevitably experience in your journey of entrepreneurship or even in real estate. So, all right. Now, so quick question. You know, you obviously, you know, got into real estate or have been into real estate. So what what was your first experience, or what was the reason that made you get into real estate in the first place?
My initial reason was that I was interested in owning rental property. So I
Okay.
started buying rental property and found that I liked the hunt for the property way more than I did like being a landlord. And quite honestly, I was trying to be cheap and be my own landlord for my own properties. And I wasn't a very good landlord because I could accept somebody's line of, okay, well, I'll have the money next week. I'll have the money next week. So a bit of a bleeding heart when it came to that. And it just didn't make me a very effective landlord. That being said, I just absolutely fell in love with the real estate aspect of it, the negotiation, the buying, the selling, all of that, and slowly started to transition in that direction, and just it kind of took off from there.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So you the actual chase itself was the reason that got you into it, right? Of hunting
Yeah.
down the deals and everything. Okay.
Definitely. I mean, and then it leans into when I'm working at the chemical plant, I'm putting in 12-hour shifts. I've got 15 bosses. I'm working night shifts. I'm capped at a certain level of income to where if I get into real estate and then eventually I'm in charge of my own destiny ultimately, and
Yeah.
I am ultimately my own boss. I mean, granted, we have clients and technically they are our boss, but the reality is we choose that. And it just seemed to make all the difference in the world that was the direction I wanted to go.
What are your beliefs on, most people or most Americans getting into real estate? Do you believe it's something that most people should have within their investment portfolio, or they should be able to have to explore? Because home ownership is been part of the American dream for quite a long time, but it's unattainable for a lot of people. And also investing in real estate has been a staple for successful individuals out there. But for most people, it's either a huge obstacle or they just unable to do so for many different reasons. So what's your thought about most people getting into real estate? Is this something that you encourage most people to get into?
See, I'm a little bit different when it comes to that conversation.
Okay.
To where, number one, I think buying a house is important if you're in the right spot of where you need to be at in your life. You don't buy a house to buy a house. You buy a house because it makes good sense. Your family's going to
Right.
live there. You're stable in where you're at. You're not going anywhere. If you're going to be up and moving within a couple of years, there's probably no reason to buy anything because yes, quote unquote, you're throwing your money away on a rental. I get it. I understand that. That being said, there's a lot to be said for, you know what, I can walk out of this place tomorrow and I can move my life and do what I want to do. So that's important too. So I think it just depends. I think it's a great idea. I think everybody should own their own home when the time comes. But that's the point, when the time comes. And
Right
it's
at
not
time.
for everybody. The same thing with owning rental property. Not everybody's cut out for it. And there's about 15,000 different ways to make money in this world and have, side money or a side hustle or whatever you want to do. So if you're not in it, then put your money elsewhere. Simple as that. Or you can do a real estate investment trust where you're doing a smaller amount into, let's say a real estate trust that owns, 45 apartments, and they're going to slowly add some more. So you're not making quote unquote fast money or big money, but over
Right.
time, that type of income will come back to you as a residual and you'll move forward from there, much like you would with a stock or owning gold or heck, these days and age, you can buy a collectible and art and make really good money from that if you hold on to it for 20 years. So I think it just depends on where your personality and where your mindset is. It's at the end of the day, it's up to you. And I think you need to lean into what you are and who you are before you make that decision.
You made a very, very valid point there because, it really depends on the lifestyle of the individual, right? So, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. So now I want to go ahead and transition into what has made you get into wanting to, because you've been a real estate agent, right? So what has made you wanting to start mentoring and educating real estate agents?
Because my first experience buying a home of my own was the worst experience you could possibly have. My real estate agent did not know her ass from a hole in the ground.
Stop
She
it.
is
Come
still
on,
currently,
Bob. Don't do that.
it's the truth. She is still currently in business to this day. We walked into, here's the scenario. We're raising 2 teenage boys. We need, at this point, we realistically want a 4-bedroom, 2. I walk into the house, the second house we looked at, I looked around, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Yeah, this will do. So at that point, no discussion of the issues with the house, no discussion of how long the house has been on the market, no discussion at all, any of that. No, what I call the Friday night drive-by, which is every house in every neighborhood looks great at Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But if you ride by that neighborhood on a Friday, Saturday night, you'll find out, okay, who's the crazy neighbor? Or who's the neighbor that just likes to have too many beers and have all of his boys over every single Friday night? Now, does he stop at 11 o'clock and go to bed? Hey, that's fine and dandy. But is he staying up half the night raising a ruckus? Is somebody, hell, running a club next door? Well, you don't know these things. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. The house that I bought, my agent told me that we did not need a home inspection because we were getting a home warranty. This is 2000.
Okay.
2002, my fault. My apologies. 2002. That was not true. The house needed a ton of work. I move in, and literally 3 days later on a Saturday, there is white power music playing behind me. There's a neighbor behind me. Across the fence is a 300-pound white power guy with a KKK flag hanging. Okay. I've got a drug addict on one side who, by the way, eventually actually overdosed, passed away, and that house got rehabbed. And I've got a drunk on the other side of me. That I knew none of this when we bought that house. This is not a joke. This is a God's honest, true story.
Talk about a winning combination. Damn.
You got it, Ace. You got it. You got it. Yes, that's what I would. And what's the lady that I was that lived in the house before we did, the owner was black. No wonder she moved out. Are you kidding me? She's got white power
She's like, hold on.
And she's got a drug addict on one side and a drunk on the other. Who that woman was still, when I got divorced and moved out, that woman was still alive. So apparently she was pickled, but she wasn't. That the alcohol was not going to kill her. She just stuck around. But that's no joke. There was never a discussion of, we need to look at this. We need to do a home inspection. You need to check out the neighborhood. There was no conversation when we're done. The house had been on the market for a year at that point. I personally was approved for $90,000. Again, this is 2002. We're not talking big money. House had been on the market for a year, priced at $84,000. We got no closing cost, no discounts, no nothing. Paid full price, the whole 9 yards.
Damn. Yeah. Which, this leads me to a long list of a laundry list of questions here. What's your thoughts on the real estate agent market? Do you believe the market is oversaturated with real estate agents, or because correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was once a stat that said there's more real estate agents than actual homes for sale in the United States. So do you believe the market is just saturated with real estate agents?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think number one, a lot of people get their real estate license and don't ever do anything with it. Then you have people that are investors or work at a property management office or are an assistant. So I don't necessarily think it's oversaturated because, quite honestly, 9 out of 10 times the market fixed itself on that. If you're a crappy real estate agent, most of the time you're going to quit doing business sooner or later. Or if you're not that great, you're only going to do 4 or 5 deals a year. In a hot market, you may not even do that many. So I think it depends. What I think it means is that you need to interview your real estate agent. Even I get recommended all the time by past clients, as well as I should. I mean, that's what I want. My job is to be so good that I have individual people that love me and promote me and want their friends and family to use me. That being said, sit me down and have a conversation with me. Well, Bob, are you familiar with what's going on over here? What do you think about this? What do we need to do here? Ask those questions, and if you're comfortable with me, then we'll keep moving forward and from there. But a lot of people do not interview their real estate agent. They just don't, unfortunately. So you've always got to be cautious of that. And overall, yeah, there's a lot of crappy real estate agents in my industry. There's no doubt of that. The hope is that they peter out fairly quickly and move to the sidelines and move on. The problem is that if somebody's using them, they don't realize it, that they may not know that they're not very good at their job because they haven't followed up with information or ask questions. And that doesn't even mean that they've got to be, it's real easy for me to sit back and go, okay, I've got 20 years experience, so I'm going to blow the new agent out of the water. There's nothing wrong with somebody that's a new agent if they have proper backing. So if that new agent says, you know what, I'm going to do the best that I can, and I've got a great coach, I've got a great team leader that's been in the industry 15 years, I've got these two mentors that are on my team, they're going to walk me through every step of the process. To me, that's golden too. So it's not just about the classic, and we've all heard that noise from agents, and I hear it. I think I notice it more now because I'm literally that old dude that's been in the industry 20 years. So I try not to say it all the time, but we hear that a lot. And then you go back and look at their stats and you're like, okay, well, in 20 years, you've done 25 deals. No, that ain't getting it done. That doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a deal a year.
You're not a part-time agent because you have a real job. You've always been a part-time agent because you've never were passionate enough to do this full-time, or it was never a goal of yours, so you were always halfway doing it. And I don't think you can do it. Now, you can be a part-time agent and be full-time in. I know this for a fact because I did it, transitioned from chemist to real estate. And I worked 80-hour weeks for the 2 years that I did it until I became a full-time real estate agent. So I'm not knocking part-time real estate agents because a lot of them aren't in a position to move forward and be a full-time agent, or they haven't gotten the coaching that they've needed or deserved. That's different. But that's why you interview. That's why you ask these questions. And I think that's a very overlooked step in our process.
Okay. Which, again, a lot of our audience are in the real estate game. So let me ask you, one of the biggest obstacles that real estate agents also face is wholesalers. So, wholesalers, they are somewhat, they're the surrogates of real estate agents, but without needing the license. What are your thoughts on, just the whole concept of wholesaling? Do you believe that has a dramatic effect on real estate agents as well, too?
I don't believe it has a dramatic effect. I believe it has some effect. But I also think that there's a place for that, much like there is for anything else. I get in trouble for this. A lot of agents get mad at me for this comment, but I'm going to say it anyway. Real estate is a lot like it's like car insurance. I can go to State Farm and get proper handed service to me. So I can call my local State Farm guy and go, Joe, I got a problem. I need you to fix this. Or I can use the general and I'm going to get somebody on a phone in India, or I'm going to get, my customer service is going to be slim and none, and it's going to save me a few dollars. I think it depends. And I think that as a consumer, you've got to be smart about it. My attitude is always call a real estate agent that you trust first, because typically I have enough investors to where if you need to sell it tomorrow and you don't want to deal with all the extra hassle of people coming through your door, or you're in a time crunch, or maybe you're sick and you don't want people in your house. We saw that in COVID. I had clients during COVID that had cancer and didn't want anybody else. So I found them a buyer very quickly on their home. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like anything else. Do a little research, be smart about it, and make sure you're not selling your home to some fly-by organization that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow, or worse, isn't going to close when they say they are. So,
Wow. So, and which now leads me to the next question here, because again, and I want to educate a lot of, because becoming a real estate agent is such a prevalent career and a lot of people are interested, but maybe may have one foot in, one foot out. So what makes a successful real estate agent? What are some of the skills and attributes are needed to become one?
I would say two major things, and this is what I tell my agents. I would say, number one, lean into who you are. Lean into your personality. Don't be fake. Okay. Don't be phony. People will see through it 24/7. It's not going to work long term. Yes, you can pull, the wool over people from time to time, but most of the time people are going to see through that. And I'll give you a case in point. You go to my Facebook stuff, you're going to see a mix of real estate, and you're going to see something silly or something stupid, something fun. I'm going to post a picture of some sort of 70s outfit and be like, hey, I'm going to wear this to my next listing appointment. Just something silly and fun.
Right, keep it light.
You're getting who I am. All the way, all of the time. Now, I may not be everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. Nothing wrong with that. We all We are not all things to all people, and that's okay. The other thing
Right.
is be coachable. Always be coachable. There's always something we can learn. I'm still coachable. I've got folks that I know that, quite honestly, if all in all realistically probably blow me out of the water in certain areas. And there's nothing wrong with that. We
There's
all
nothing
have
wrong with
people what
that.
I call are betters, and they're just better at us than certain things. And there's nothing wrong with that. So between being coachable and leaning into who you are, to me, the sky is the limit. You'll do great.
Awesome, awesome. Which I'm glad that you said that, because I believe that's also an obstacle a lot of real estate agents, especially getting into the real estate game, I see where they hit the brick wall in, right? They try to conform or be someone else. And, 9 times out of 10, like you say, sellers, they pick up on that, especially when it comes to housing. This is the biggest investment, the biggest decision that they will make probably in their lives. So you want to come across as authentic as possible when you are a real estate agent, and also, what do you believe a real estate? Do you believe a real estate agent should also partner with a reputable company, a reputable real estate firm? Some of the like the Keller Williams out there and things of that nature. Do you believe that needing to partner with a big firm can also help you separate yourself from the competition?
It's funny you asked that because I am actually part of a big firm. That being said, I think it means absolutely nothing. I was independent for 10 years. It's where I needed to be. Now I am part of a big firm because I chose to go with this particular company. I work for, ultimately my broker is EXP, and I'm with Legacy Group International. I'm one of their real estate agents and growth coaches. But at the end of the day, I don't think it makes a difference. It just doesn't. I think the individual means everything in our business at the end of the day. I don't care if it's Joe Bob's Real Estate. I don't care if you're, solo independent agent with your own name on your door. I don't care if you're Keller Williams, EXP, God knows the other 1,000 ones that are out there. I don't think it makes it a single bit in any way, shape, or form. Makes no difference. You have all the tools available to you. As long as if you're a new agent and you're getting good, proper coaching, I think that makes a big difference. I think you need, as a new agent, yes, you need to have a good team of people that are supporting you and helping you and encouraging you. That being said, at the end of the day, it comes down to the individual. Always has, always will. This is not a cookie cutter business.
Wow. Okay. I really was not expecting that. I'll be honest with you, Bob. You came out of left field with that one right there. Seriously. It's like,
I'm probably going to get in trouble when this one's all said and done, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to be what I am, and I'm okay with that.
No, but that's good. And it goes back to what you stated at the beginning, be yourself, be authentic. And because people ultimately, that's what they are able to look into. If you're real there, that's when the comfort level and the trust comes out and everything. So,
yeah, and make no mistake, I think a smart real estate agent should find a home for them. So if somebody was to ask me tomorrow, then I'm going to say you need to be, with my team, with Legacy Group, and be underneath that. That being said, at the same time, that who knows if that's the right fit for an individual or not. They need to figure that out for themselves. And most of my clients don't even know who I work for and could care less. They know me. They don't care about all the rest of it. They just don't.
Yeah, all the bells and whistles really it's plays no significance or at all, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, my next question is, what's the real estate market right now? So I want to switch gears to, because we're in 2025. We've been through a couple of bubbles when it comes to the real estate. The more recent one was, of course, the 2008 housing crisis, which ultimately could have, led to the global crisis and everything like now. But fast forward till today, although we're really not in a recession, but all interest rates are still high. home ownership is still unattainable for a lot of individuals, and you know, the real estate, and there's a lot of pockets of real estate that, if I'm not believe, that's, you know, overvalued, inflated. So do you believe we're in a very tough time right now in the real estate market? What's your thoughts?
Okay, so once again, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Interest rates are not high relative to what they had been for years. Basically,
Okay.
if you go to look back, rates were 13, 11, 12% in the 80s. They were high in the 90s. They're high relative to the threes and the fours that we saw, but they're
During the
not
pandemic
high.
period, yeah.
Yes, they're not high realistically overall. They're just not. Sorry, but they're not. The biggest problem we have right now is that there is no, in most parts of the country, and every part is different, we have no inventory, which means prices are higher. And why is there no inventory? Because COVID wiped out all the short sales and all the foreclosures. So you have to remember, for years, you always had, okay, if I couldn't afford to spend, I'm going to pick a random number here in my market. If I couldn't afford to spend $350 on a perfectly shiny, you know, rehabbed property that's in great shape, I could still buy myself a foreclosure for $275 that needed some work. So maybe it looked like grandma had lived there for 50 years. So I got to put new paint, new flooring, you know, update the fixtures. I mean, I showed a house the other day that had a blue sink in it in the bathroom. So you still find, you know, an older home, but you could take it, fix it up cosmetically, and make it your own. These things come with time. So that wasn't a problem. But most of the folks that got wrapped up in foreclosures and stuff, they all got saved during COVID. So you didn't see that type of house anymore. So what you're dealing with now is, quite honestly, in most parts of the country, there's not enough inventory. So prices are going to be on the higher side. That being said, I believe you can certainly purchase a home. It may not be the lifetime home that you want, but you can still do it the way, again, I'm 52, so you could still do it the way my parents did it, the way that I did it. That first house I bought for $84,000 was not a mansion in any way, shape, or form. It was an 1,800 square foot Cape Cod in a blue collar neighborhood. It was what I could afford on a $45,000 a year salary, which at that point I don't even think was 45 grand. It was probably closer to 35. That being said, you may not be able to start at the top, but I do believe that home ownership is attainable for a lot of people. It's just a matter of streamlining your things that you're spending your money on to some extent. And maybe, unfortunately, you know what, we're going to have to buy a townhouse to start out with. Okay, fine. We buy a townhouse, in 3 years, we move on and buy something else. I mean, most of our strongest earning period in the States is, I believe it's between 40 and 55 is where you're at your peak earning potential. So maybe you're not able to buy as early as you were in the past because there is no inventory, and that's definitely affecting it. That being said, I think there are opportunities. I think you've just got to be prepared and ready when and if the time comes.
Right. Okay. So it's just basically taking the steps. Like you said, you can't try to hit a home run right out of the batter's box, right? So you may have to just hit a single and then steal second base and let the next batter get you to third and before you're able to come home again, you know.
Or if you've got a high debt ratio and you've a debt to income ratio and you have 2 car payments, well, clearly you're not going to be able to afford a mortgage if you've got, you know, $1,500 worth of car payments. So what do we do to fix that? Okay, let's pay our cars off, and then we move forward from there, and then we can buy maybe perhaps our dream home. I don't know what your budget is, or maybe at least buy something in a nice, safe neighborhood, and then we adjust and move up from there. So some of that is lack of inventory, and some of that is prioritizing. And sometimes it just may not be your time. So you wait until you're ready to move forward.
So with you saying it's a lack of inventory, it's definitely a seller's market, right? Because with that, you know, the sellers are able to go ahead and dictate the prices and the terms and everything like that.
Well, that's the thing. Real estate is local. So if you ask me in Hampton Roads, Virginia, which is Norfolk, Virginia Beach, yes, we are still in a seller's market. It's starting to adjust. We still have too much inventory, but there's parts of Florida that are very much in a buyer's market. It depends on, quite honestly, depends on what part of the country you're in. You can't, look
Right.
at a map and go, well, this is the results. That's not true, because there's always going to be pockets that are different, which is why you need a local real estate agent to understand what is going on and how to go about the process of negotiating and what you can and cannot do. So that changes. Much like if I've got a client that's looking to buy in Virginia Beach is going to be a little bit higher price point, a little bit less inventory, as opposed to, let's say, Smithfield or parts of Suffolk, which is a bit more rural. We might be able to get a little bit more bang for our buck if we want to be out in Suffolk or certain parts of Portsmouth. It just depends. And a good, knowledgeable local real estate agent will be able to explain that to you and help walk you through the process.
Awesome. Now, here, what is your advice to the for sale by owner folks out there, those who are reluctant and wanting to get a real estate agent because they want to avoid paying the commission. They feel maybe they can negotiate better terms themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
Two thoughts. Number one, if you want to negotiate this yourself, that's fine. But what experience level do you have? You've sold what? 1, 2, maybe properties? I've sold hundreds, more than easily, probably at this point, close to 1,000, if not more, or been involved with God knows how many transactions, even on the side. So that's not necessarily a good idea. That's like me telling the car guy how to fix my car. Can't do it. Don't know how. That being said, you have that option. And 90% of for sale by owners end up going with an agent. That again, but I have no problem with for sale by owners. Again, it's like the conversation we had earlier about insurance. You can go with the General or you can go with State Farm. So I'll call for sale by owners and work with them. A lot of times for sale by owners end up cutting their own throat because they undervalue the price because they're trying to cut out the commission and they end up making less money. So if I talk to a for sale by owner, which I have no problems with cold calling and asking them that question, I'll simply point out, if you use a real estate agent, you're actually going to make more money than you would if you didn't use a real estate agent, because we have all the tools. I have people that are ready to buy. I know all of the things that are needed to know. So if it's strictly about money, then let's look at the numbers. And hey, if the numbers are to where it looks like you need to sell by yourself, then by all means, go do your thing. I wish you the best. But 9 out of 10 times, for sale by owners end up using a real estate agent. They just do, because they don't know how to do it properly. And nobody wants to sit there and get 15 million phone calls by unqualified buyers that want to see the house. Nobody wants to put up with that.
That is so true. And it's the same thought process where individuals feel like they don't need a mentor, right? They feel like they could be able to go ahead and go through their business journey through themselves, but not realizing, just either right out of the gate or along the journey, they realize, like, man, I just hit my head against a brick wall. I could have avoided that had I just went ahead and hired a professional. So that right there, you just highlighted the importance of it, which that's another question I want to ask now, because you've mentored hundreds of real estate agents and you've helped them be able to elevate their careers and everything. How important it is for a real estate agent starting out to get a mentor? Is that something that you highly encourage? Not just because you are one, but I just wanted to see if that's something that you believe most, if not all, real estate agents should get into if they're entering the real estate career.
I think it's absolutely important, and I'll give you the example of that. When I got into real estate, my first broker, actually my first two brokers, didn't really know what they were doing. One of them was an investor who became a broker. The other one wasn't teaching or coaching. And that was 2005, 6, and 7. So in 2008, I joined one of the big local teams here, to where we had a team leader. We also had essentially a coach and mentor on that team. And that's who absolutely taught me how to do what I do, or at least gave me the basis of it, explained things, talked to me, taught me some life lessons and some real estate lessons that I needed to learn. So the 3 years that I was on that team, I did learn a lot in those respects. And I still talk to that individual to this day, and I still trust his opinion. Even if I have the same thought process, I still bounce it off of him from time to time to go, am I doing this the right way? Is this a good angle to go with this negotiation or whatever? And they'll go back and go, no, you're doing it the right way. And it's good to have that. So yes, I think it's super important, because I know I didn't have it. I did okay, but ultimately I floundered. And it really wasn't until the January of 2008 when I joined the big team and learned a lot of what I needed to do along the way, the proper way to do things.
Proper way, right? And I hope the audience really took heed to what you just shared there, because we're not just talking about real estate. Obviously, that's the subject matter and the premise of today's episode. But just in general, having a mentor right out of the onset, right out of the gate, is could be the difference of you rapid scaling your career and being able to get to that finish line faster. Or what I like to say, having a mentor is having that cheat code. When you have a mentor, they are there to help you avoid bumping your head against the wall, which inevitably you're going to bump your head against the wall by not having one. So I'm glad that you've been able to share that.
And let's be honest, it's a funny thing because it's kind of annoying, because you're spending money that if you're doing it all in one shot, you're spending money that you may not necessarily have. And you have to wait a while to see the fruits of your labor. It's like putting a new roof on the house. Nobody enjoys doing that, because it ain't like I can sit up on my roof and show it off and go, hey guys, look at my fancy new roof I just dropped 25 grand for. But if I put a pool in my backyard, I could invite all of my people over and say, look at how well I'm doing in my world. I got this shiny new in-ground pool and we're all going to swim and kids are going to love it and all of that good stuff. I mean, if that's a trade-off, right? But it's never fun to spend money on stuff that you can't tangibly wrap your hand around. That's why we all get irritated when we have to fix our car. The AC is out on my car. I got to go get that fixed. It annoys me because I'm going to get to enjoy it for a month and a half, realistically, for the summertime. Right. And then it's going to be, then I'm not going to get to enjoy it for quite a while. So it's one of those things, but at the end of the day, it will make me more money long term. And even if I'm either paying up front or I'm paying as I go, whichever system you've got set up with your coach or mentor, it's still going to pay out at the end of the day, because I'm going to learn and know things a lot faster than I would have if I had been on my own. And if I can scale up that much faster, it'll pay for itself tenfold easily.
Facts. So true. And
we all have coaches. If I started, I don't know, jujitsu tomorrow, I would have to go to somebody to teach me jujitsu. I can't exactly do it in the privacy of my own home. That's not how that works.
Right. A YouTube University only takes you so far, right?
Yeah.
It just gets you
Yeah. I mean, I could maybe learn a basic or two, but enough to get my butt kicked out in a real match. So
yes,
we have that for baseball, football, all of our sports, a lot of our academics that we do. We all use coaches and mentors, whether we want to call it that or not, but it's still, we all have them. I mean, to this day, if I make a decision, I'll go over with my father. Now, my father may not have a background in certain things, but my father has 82 years of life experience, and I respect him and love him. So I'm going to talk to my father pretty much before I do everything. And then I'm going to talk to my circle and my mentors and my people that I trust and value. I've got a good friend of mine who is, CFO of a bank. You can damn sure bet if I'm doing anything financial, I'm going to talk to him, because he's way smarter than I am at that. Clearly. Right. I mean, he's the CFO. I'm not. So he wins.
Very, very good point. And, you've given so many examples on just the power of mentorship and, having somebody by your side. And whether it's a loved one or someone that's more experienced, at the end of the day, it still boils down to the same point of the power of needing a mentor, that accountability partner, someone that's just going to make sure that they have your best interest at heart, ultimately, on whatever advice they're going to share with you or, import to you and everything like that. So impart to you, I meant. But man, today has been a phenomenal episode. Of course, here at the Blueprint platform, we like to go ahead and give the audience one or two blueprints that they can take away, that they could utilize in their day-to-day life, or they could use in the concept we're talking in their real estate journey. If you could share one thing that would help the audience use to be able to build their blueprint, and it could be on personal development, mindset, or real estate.
Work in the dark. In other words,
work in the dark.
Don't tell everybody business. Now you can talk to your people that are part of that journey a little bit. You can talk to folks online and all of that. The fact of the matter is, most of the time people are negative. So if we're getting all of that
Yeah.
negative energy and we're talking about what we want to do and what we're going to do, and then the next thing we know, we have 15 voices in our head telling us that we can't do it. And we have people that are looking at us like we're insane and we're not capable, because they either know us as somebody that didn't always make good choices, or they know us as a 15-year-old idiot teenager, or whatever the case may be. Working in the dark eliminates that process because, number one, you focus on the people and the task at hand and what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah. Number two, you don't get in your own head. I'm funny like that. If I go and accomplish something, I don't even tell my father what I did until it's done, or I'm doing it that day, because I don't want to emotionally get myself wrapped up and be like my father's going to support me regardless of what I do. But I don't want to go to my dad and go, I'm going to do this next month, and this is coming up, and this is going to be great. And then if something goes wrong, or it doesn't come together, or there's changes made, then I feel like I wasn't truthful, or I made a promise and it didn't come through. So I would rather keep that information to myself until it actually happens. And then I can go, here we are, world.
Ta-da.
Boom. Look what I did. Because I can remember leaving the grocery store and having everybody tell me I was.
Absolutely. Which that right there, work in the dark. And not only just for, not only for the negative response and feedback you may get, sharing your dreams and aspirations with the wrong crowd or the wrong individuals, the negative energy can, underlying can also prevent you and hold you back from growing and achieving your objectives as well too.
Yeah, I think it's super important to do that, because again, it just honestly just makes it easier, because then you're not, I can stand in front of a crowd of people I don't know and give them my hopes and dreams and aspirations, but I can also struggle trying to give that same information to people that know me, even if they just know me a little bit or whatever. It's just easier to keep your mouth shut until you succeed and be done with it. Because what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for yourself or your family? Or are you doing it to get likes and loves on the Facebook and all the other stuff that comes with that? So you got to make that decision on your own.
Right. Well, so true. And I appreciate everything you've shared with us today, Bob, man. You've been absolutely great. You've surprised us with a few of your answers, but I like that. You was raw, unfiltered, and authentic. I love it, man. I love it. So I think the audience also is going to really, really appreciate that. So before we go ahead and wrap up, though, if there's anything you want to go ahead and share with the audience, I know you mentioned you do have a book, a website that you would like to share with the audience, because of your rawness and how you've been able to go ahead and be so authentic and genuine. I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to reach out to you. So let us know how the kind of audience tap in with you, and let them know anything else you got coming up.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the shameless plug here. They can reach me at whatbobthinks.com. I've got a course out called Want More, Take More. We are out now working on a real estate course that hopefully will be out within the next month and a half. We've got a book that's going to go along with that. We've got a video course that goes with it. You can always reach me on Facebook at Bob the Agent. You can actually call me at 757-403-5401. I'm old. I answer the phone, or send me a text or whatever. I know a lot of people don't like to leave their phone number. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. That's who I am. I'm a very easy person to get a hold of. So if you type in Bob the Agent, my assorted stuff is going to show up on the World Wide Web, hopefully for the good and not for the bad, but we'll see. So between that and whatbobthinks.com, you can always find me. I'm happy to help answer questions or whatever anybody needs. Not a big deal.
Awesome, Bob. Thanks for coming on today's show. I think you've educated a lot of the viewers who are in the real estate game, a lot of who we've questioned about, being a real estate agent, wanting to be a real estate agent. Also, listen, if you are an agent out there and you need some mentoring, you need some help, you want to be able to go ahead and scale your real estate career, tap in with Bob. All of his links that he mentioned will be in the show notes and the description. He's been doing this for hundreds of years. He's probably forgot more about real estate than you have just learned in your training courses. So pretty sure, if you want to be able to go ahead and get with the mentor, which we suggest, definitely Bob is your guy. So I highly encourage it. And also, thanks for tuning into the Respect My Blueprint podcast, where every Friday, every Monday, we give you the blueprint on how to do shit around here. And as always, I want to catch you guys on the flip side. Take care, be safe, and be dangerous. Peace, guys.
Blueprint, yeah. Blueprint. This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it, cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement. Yep, Wesley Paul with Blueprint. This guests are exclusive. Get on and tune in and then learn some new tips about credit, finance, investment. A nice chance to get rich and buy land. Flip it, quick 9 bands. Learn all the skills from Wes, he did it. Learn how to build successful business. Run up a mill and get the digits. Run up a mill. Look, safe place where guests are speaking. Based off financial freedom. All facts, no cap, believe it. Podcast, you have to see it.